Good morning, everybody, and I am truly honored, and it's just a privilege for me to really be back home here at Meharry. It's been a little bit, I come back every now and then, but I'm saying since I graduated, it's been a little bit, as you could tell. But yeah, I did sit here, and I sat under Dr. Allen and Dr. Watson and Dr. Watkins. I throw him in, and Dr. Fred Fielder. All of them I sat under. So I'm trying to remember. Both Dr. Allen and Dr. Watson were back. I guess they had been gone, and then they came back, and they were leading. And I remember Dr. Allen because at the time he was teaching prosthetics, and I remember particular event. The thing about the dentures, ooh wee, or something like that. You guys still do that, ooh wee, when you're trying to get the thing with the. It's been a long time for me, but he had us in class doing ooh wee, and then he was saying, and you should see the buccal card, I think it is, and he said, that man over there, you won't see a buccal card because his buccal fat pads are, and he was talking about one of our classmates, Henry, who was a little bit obese, and it's just everybody was like laughing, and he was like, what's wrong? Did I say something? But he was like that. It was just real. He would do it, and with Dr. Watson, it was the thing of Proverbs 4 and 7. Wisdom is a principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get an understanding. You guys know that one? Yeah. Been around. It's been around, and you have to think about it. And why did he say it? And you can ponder on that for years and years, but there's a reason. So now I figure out how to get to my, okay, here it is. Let me see if I can get to my lecture. And I'm going to hold on. I want to get it on presentation. Let me see. Bottom. Okay, I want to go back. Okay. And go back again. In the picture there's my friend, Dr. Fred Foote, who just passed away. Jamaican brother. We got any Jamaicans in here? Look out. There you go. We did a lot of running together. This was my running partner, Dr. Fred Foote. So just passed, and he standing there next to him is Dr. Jeff Brown over here, hands up. Jeff went down for his memorial. I wasn't able to make it, but you lose some of your classmates along the way, and of course, at the end, all of us go. And that's the reason I talk about the exit strategy. Most people never like to discuss the exit, but we all got to go. And the thing, when you start really thinking about it, most people, and I just did a lecture last week, was it last week or Saturday? And I asked a lot of doctors, and these are people who've been practicing a long time. I said, a show of hands of how many people have an exit strategy. Do you know that nobody in the room has an exit strategy? It's almost like that song, Welcome to the Hotel California, and then it's a part at the end you can check out, but you can never leave. And that's almost how it is with dentistry. If you don't have a plan to exit, you will never leave, and you'll work the whole life until you can't go anymore. So you have to have a plan. And that's the reason I talk to people about the exit strategy. And most people still don't get it. So seriously, I am a nobody. I came from nothing. I'm just passing through, because I think that, I know there's a spirit being in a man, right? And what we do here on this plane, earth plane, we're just passing through. With me, I try to have a little fun while I'm doing this thing, because if you take it too serious, then you really are going to have a bad life. I'm telling you, get too serious about it. But if you can make it fun, it could be lucrative. Matter of fact, I'm going to mention this one. There was my buddy used to live down on Jefferson Street. I forget the name of the apartments going towards TSU. And there was this brother that used to pass going from down that way. And anyway, his name was Larry, but they call him Lucrative Larry. Because every time you mention something, how's it going, Larry? He said it's lucrative. And that's the way you want life to be. You want it to be lucrative. So anyway, I started out, I came here to Nashville before I started Meharry. I missed my graduation from North Carolina Central because I decided to join this. It was an internship program that was right here. It's called the Southwest Book Company. And you had to come here in Nashville to train for a week before you go and sell books door to door. I had already been accepted at Meharry, so I was like, I need to graduate first, but then they said, well, you can't do both. So I missed my graduation. My mom was hurt. I didn't know she was going to be hurt like that, but she was hurt. But I came here and I trained in an entrepreneur program. And then they send us selling books. And Dr. Mayberry just saying, she was from Detroit. I went to Detroit. I didn't know I was going to Detroit until you get here, you spend a week training, and then they tell you where you're going to go. And then you catch a ride with somebody, and then they give you a list of people that you can call, and maybe you could stay there. And then you hustle and you sell books door to door. But it's the training that you get before you go, and then in your mindset, you're an entrepreneur, right? So when I reached Meharry, I already had the mindset, because even before that, I used to sell clothes at the mall and wait tables and so forth. So I was always that commission kind of guy. Give me a little bit, let me make a commission on it, I'll do it for you. So the mindset of an entrepreneur, and so when I came to Meharry, or even dental school, I think I probably came with a different mindset than most people, because the only reason I chose dentistry is because this guy in Durham had a dental office on the hill, and he had this green Jaguar, XJ12. I was like, dang, I want one of those. I want to be a dentist then, because not only did he have the Jag, but think about it, he had his own business. And that was what I wanted. I didn't want to necessarily work for anybody. I wanted to own my own business. So that Jaguar sitting on the hill, he owned his own place. I was like, that's me. That's me. That's what I'm going to do. So some of you guys might want to look into this. They're telling me that now some students, I don't know, some are leaving dental school with $400,000 in debt. You know, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And some schools are a lot more. So you got to think about it. And I know a lot of people panic when it comes down to this thing of money and debt and so forth. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? You need to have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, then you're going to be working somebody else's plan, right? You got to have, somehow you got to figure out how you're going to pay back $400,000. But if you think right, $400,000 is only 10% of $4 million, right? So if you make $4 million, that's nothing. You got to think like that, though. You really do. You got to think that's nothing. But here's the thing, the mindset. So if you look, you'll see this is from the yearbook, but at the bottom down there it says the career goals. Mine was general dentistry and entrepreneurship from get-go. Even before I got here, I wanted to do entrepreneurship. But the only reason, I'm not bragging on me, I'm just telling you that if you're going to do something, and really, especially if you plan to make money and get wealthy, it's not going to be by accident. You won't accidentally fall into a whole hell of a lot of money. And looking at me, you could tell a country boy like me, looking 3 shades darker than the average, I'm not going to just run into money and it's just going to jump on me. I got to have a plan. I got to take it down with a plan. And if you're going to do it, you got to have a plan. There's a lot of money in dentistry, but you're not going to get it unless you have a plan. So first, it says, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. That's Napoleon Hill. That's something you need to really think about. If you can conceive it, but if you don't conceive it, you can't really, just like I could say rabbit orange, this, that, and the other, or Garoparos forte. You really wouldn't know what a Garoparos forte is, and you can't really conceive it in your mind. You can't really conceive making money and getting a whole bunch of money unless you could first see it and visualize it in your mind that you can do it. Otherwise, you're going to just do what somebody has already planned for you to do, and that is get a job. And it's okay. I need people working for me. So if you want to get a job, you know, but the thing I'm speaking to today is not necessarily, everybody's not going to do this. I tell you, out of everybody here, a small percentage will probably become entrepreneurs, highly successful entrepreneurs. Most people will be employees, and there's nothing wrong with that. Here's what I want to warn people, though. Things are changing, and you know that, the DSOs, the DPOs, so forth. But let me not get ahead of my slides. Let me just see if I can stick to my slides. Okay, so I was public health. Came here on a public health scholarship. And when I left, I went down to New Orleans. Anybody from New Orleans? Wait out. All right. Who that over there? You know. So I was down in the St. Thomas housing projects. And they tore all of that down there after Katrina, but it was rough. Because the clinic I worked at was right in front of it. They call it Puffy Lane. And they sold puffies. You ever heard of puffies? That's the Clickums where they soak it in the PCP. And that was right in front of my office. So, I was in a kind of rough area. And then I finally got an office in the 9th Ward, which wasn't too great. But before that, I had a little office in Hammond, Louisiana. So I started moonlighting. And they had a black dentist. He was the one that got me into the office. But it was an old white dentist's office. And he talked the brother into it. And it didn't work out for him. He switched it over to me. So I get in there, and I realized even the black people weren't used to a black dentist. There are places still where you go, and black people just not used to a black dentist. So, and then there was a Klan rally right in front of my office. Seriously, they marched right in front of the office. And I was telling the owner, I said, I need to get out of there. And he was like, Doc, you already signed. Don't sign anything, guys. Don't sign anything. Let me say this again. Don't sign anything that commits you until you have a lawyer check it out. And not only just a lawyer, if it's something that has to do with real estate, you have a real estate lawyer, not your cousin. He got a little criminal law background or something. That is not it. If you're dealing with employees, it's an employment lawyer. If you're dealing with real estate, it's a real estate lawyer. If it's dealing with structure, it's a person who's used to dealing and putting together structure for business. These guys are specialized, very. And if you're dealing with accountants, make sure that they're certified. You don't want to just go down any lane. And you got to spend some money to make money. But the worst thing to do is get yourself in trouble and sign something that commits you to long term. I was just talking to a lady just the other day, and she was saying she signed, and I can't just talk about her, the building I was just talking about. My first one, I did the same thing. This one, over here on the right. I signed a lease to that place, and I didn't know. That was the first time I had really leased anything. It was a 2.5-year lease. Then I put all of my money into it, and then the guy said, well, I'm going to double the rent. And I was like, but I just signed, And he said, well, if you want to buy the building, you could buy it. So I had somebody look at the building. They said, the building is no good, Doc. Don't put your money into it. So now that was one of the reasons I got up and left New Orleans. I said, well, the economy was already bad, and then I'm caught up into this thing. My accountant, I didn't use a CPA. I had this brother who was going to help save me money. Next thing I know, the IRS has sent me a thing, and I owed them like a whole bunch of money. And this fool had walked away, and he wasn't even certified. So I'm telling you, I learned a whole bunch of things out here, guys, but I was going fast. I was going real fast because I'll tell you the reason I had to go fast, because it took me a little while to pass that board out there So I took the California board back then, and I had a license in New Orleans. I had passed the Northeast Regional, but then I went down to, I left New Orleans and went to California. And I'm sorry, I'm just going this route, but I'm going to get into something. I know you guys are like, where is he going with this? But anyway, so while I was in New Orleans, this thing, we were one night during Mardi Gras, we were hanging out, and this hotel, what is it called there? The Roosevelt, that's it, right there on Canal Street, the Roosevelt. So we were going up in the elevators, and they have this thing where you go up there. Roosevelt's a nice hotel, and you go up on a certain floor, you have escargot and, throwing them back and doing that. But these guys are on the elevator, and I could tell they weren't from Louisiana, they were from up north somewhere, and they high-fived each other and say, making money as we speak. And this is like 3 in the morning. And I'm like, damn, what could they do? Making money as we speak during Mardi Gras. They're somewhere, they're not even from here, and they're making money. I know, guys, I'm talking money because I know that most of the time you guys aren't really getting business. So I'm going to just talk business, and if it goes over your head, don't worry. You're going to get this. But you need to at least see where I'm going and see why it's pertinent to you. So then I left New Orleans. I was already part of a Bible class down there, and I decided, we had a Bible class in L.A. I'm going to L.A. So we get there, and when I say it about the board, I didn't take the board the first year. I took a year off and went to Musicians Institute. Wanted to learn to play music. I didn't really realize, unless you started when you were a kid, you got to leave that stuff alone. It was more, I thought maybe intellectually, and I could intellectually process it, but I couldn't get it, either you got it or you don't. So, but I was never trying to become a professional musician. I just wanted to learn something. That didn't work out. But a dental board, I took that sucker so many times after that, and every time I get like 1 point away or something, I swear to God, now don't laugh at me, but I did take it 5 times. I took it so many times when I was going back to Loma Linda, this Filipino girl, she was dental assistant. You know how on the board they have professional assistants that only do the board and they make a lot of money. So somehow I met her, and she's way across the lobby. Don't worry, Dr. Lanier, you'll pass this time. And I was like, that was kind of rough. I was like, okay. So the thing is, you go through those kinds of things. The dental board was a rough spot for me. I wound up having, I was borrowing money because I figured right after I finished that school, the music school, I was going to just take the board, boom, go back to work and do something. Plus, I had thought, I'm not going to own my own practice again. I'm going to try working as an associate. I never worked as an associate because in my first 4 years I was working, U.S. Public Health Service. And then, had my own little practice. And so I'm going to try working as an associate. That was the worst experience. Now, you guys got to work for somebody. But let me tell you, I'm the best employee I ever met. I am, because I worked for some fools, I swear. Every time. I worked for one guy, he would give you 1 pair of gloves in the morning and 1 pair of gloves after lunch. And I'm telling you, and then it was just 2 practices. It was like, well, Dr. Lanier, I'm going to have you go to this other practice and work there. So I go work and meet my manager, Maida. So I went there, and my first patient, and I told you I took the board 5 times, right? First patient they give me is this elderly black guy, and she gives me the chart, and I'm supposed to do a crown prep. The tooth has about 3 millimeters of bone, and it's doing this. So I said, Maida, I can't do that. And she said, Doctor, do as you're told. And I was like, oh. So I said, Mario, can't do it because I took that board 5 times. And I'll tell you guys, people will come to you, they'll want prescriptions, they'll want you to do this, do that. No, that license is the most important thing. That kind of brings me to the point why, and you'll see it in here, but I don't let people call me Jerry. You know what? Well, anybody can call me Jerry, even kids. But if you're working with me and somebody's calling me in this business, I don't want to hear no Jerry, because there's no equity in Jerry. Only thing I make money on is Dr. Lanier. So call me Dr. Lanier. But I want us to be personal. I don't need it like that. I don't need to know you like that. Really, we need to do business, and that's why I do it. So I got in trouble. I was trying to borrow money here and there. I got fired from the guy that I wouldn't do the prep. So the next day, the owner is there. He said, well, Dr. Lanier, I understand you would not do what Meyer tells you to do. And I tried explaining. He said, well, come 5 o'clock, you no longer need to come back. And I was like, damn, I just got fired. So you can't, when that happens, guys, you got to play it off. I said, Doc, I want to thank you for the opportunity. You know, you can't just, what am I going to do, cry? I thanked them for the opportunity, and I went to work. Then I went out to this thing, Farm Dental, and it's almost the same thing. I'm telling you, the managers carry a whole bunch of weight. So at this point, there's a sister that drives up in the parking lot, same time I do when we return for lunch. She's driving a green BMW. And so happens when I get in there, she's my patient. And she's almost crying. She was saying she's a school teacher and that they put this ugly composite on and it's broken. So I had seen in the refrigerator, they had this 3M composite. I was like, I just taken a course on, you know, this aesthetic work and composites and all of that. So I said I could do it. And when they brought her to the chair, they brought this paste material. You guys would not know what that is. Dr. Tyus Johnson could tell you about that. They used to mix paste composite. I don't know, I don't even remember what the thing, but it was ugly. And it would not stick. It was just an ugly kind of thing that we had before they start doing these new resins. And I told her, I said, well, I can do this. And then the manager comes in. She said, no, she's HMO. You can't do that. I said, but she said that she'll pay for it. Doctor, do what you're told. So I couldn't work there too long. And then, you know, I'm telling you guys, because you're going to get out there. You're going to see some things. Just keep in mind some of these things, because if it happened to me, it probably can happen to you. I worked at Peter Weiland's office. This guy had a big office in LA. And he and another guy did all the diagnosis. And the girl said, well, he likes you. And I don't know what that was supposed to mean, you know. But if he diagnosed something, whether you saw anything or not, and I remember I was telling the girl, I don't really see this. She said, Doc, do it. If you want to keep your job, just do it. So then you're prepping stuff that you don't even see, but you want to keep your job. So this, I'm telling you, things like this happen out there. You're going to see stuff. I did work with Scott Jacks. He passed. He was a pediatric dentist on the whole block. He was a pretty good guy to work for. Really good experience there, but he had me seeing HMOs, capitation patients. Do you guys know what capitation is? They don't, okay. Capitation is when the doctor receives a specific amount of check every month, but it's very, very, very small. So when you get hired to see capitation, they're just sending you through and you're the, you know, get them out, boom, boom, boom. Don't do too much because they're not going to pay much. So he was nice, but that was a learning experience for me because he was also a business guy, and I enjoyed learning. This is the whole thing. When you're your first few years, learn. Don't go out there, and I'm telling you, I'm a businessman. If I hire you, my first 2 years is investing in you. You don't bring me money. And I know a lot of times people will get up to the point where they make a few $100s, they think they did something, or they make a few $1,000s. But if you run up to me, Doc, I did $3,000 in production today, and my break even is $4,000, Doc, we're still on the water. My break even is $4,000, and you jumping up and down about $3,000, and I'm not really happy, but I'm willing to wait because I know you're going to get there. But you're going to need like this thing, Malcolm Gladwell, he talked about, was it Gladwell? 10,000 hours. I worked for this guy, Don Brown, and he was fast. He was a pediatric dentist. Now, I limited my practice after I moved. I had worked in pediatrics so much that I just limited my practice to pediatrics after a bit. Even though I'm the GP, I had my little card made up as like GP, the number 4, pedo. I still say pedo, but a lot of people now they start, thinking that you're up to something, you say pedo. It's like, you guys probably don't even use it anymore, huh? It's like online trolling and whatnot. So you got to be careful, but I've been using it so long, I don't know what to do now. Do I get rid of it? But yeah, where was I? I'm sorry. Help me out. With Brown. Okay. So with Brown though, he told me, I said, Doc, you're really fast. How do you get to be so fast? He said, Lanier, you do 10,000 of them, you'll be fast. I was like, damn, that's right. You do 10,000 crowns, I bet you don't have to guess. Because, if you're doing pedo and you're not that familiar, you're going to go from one crown to the next one, trying to get them to fit. A guy that's been doing them 8 years all day for 5-6 days a week, he don't guess. It's just pick the right one. Why? Because that's all he do all day long. So, and that brings me to another thing. I know a lot of people still GP and so forth doing, but when I was working at HP, there was this one guy, when I come to the end of this T, the street brought you to a T, his dental office sat right in front of the T, so on his window, he had about 35 procedures. And every time I come there and I'm thinking, damn, how do you get good at 35 procedures? It would have been better, and I'm telling you guys, because I'm a marketing guy, if you were gonna get your radiator fixed on your car, wouldn't you rather go to a radiator guy than a guy who just does everything? Because you're gonna think the radiator guy is better at fixing radiators. So even though you may not specialize, try to limit, because you're not going to be good at everything, guaranteed. So limit the things that you do. Try to think of what is it you do well and you like doing. Because if you're doing it all day, every day, do something you like. Don't just do everything just because people walk in. Just say, I don't really do that. I have somebody else who does it. I can refer you to it. But I'm just me. My personal opinion is that you do better if you limit what you do. So that was my experience. Caused me to come up with kids' dental care. I said, I got to go back. I'm going to have to try it again. So I knew I had taken a lot of management classes, and they were saying, you need to come up with a name that tells what you do, something that kind of fits. So I came up with kids' dental care, even the kid on the horse. Now, it's supposed to be, I was working in a Latino neighborhood and Armenian neighborhood. I thought it was all Latino, and then all of a sudden, people started coming in, what is this? And I was like, what is this? And then I found out it was Armenian. And then there was a lot of Russians coming in there. So I'm up in Hollywood, and I had Armenians, Russian, and Latinos. Didn't have an office at that time in the black community. So you see the kid, doesn't he look like Armenian, Russian, Hispanic? That's what you listen, and those were most of the people I hired too right then. If I'm in a black neighborhood, I hire blacks. If I'm in a Latino neighborhood, I hire Latinos, you know what I mean? So you're doing business, and you just, everything is just business after a while. I know a lot of times people, doctor, just too focused on money, but like I said, when I came, only reason I came to dental school is for business. And dentistry, for me, is a business profession, a choice that I made just so I could do well, because living was hard. Coming up in a family, 11 kids on a farm, living was hard, and you want to find a way out, So dentistry provided that way, and I said, well, let's take advantage of it. Here's the thing I want a piece of advice give you guys. Be willing to be humble, bow down. I've seen too many early first year, second year graduates that will not humble themselves and bow down. Of course, I hired pediatric dentists. Since I limited it to pediatrics, I hired pediatric dentists and GPs. But because I'm a GP and I know what most GPs know and can do, I want you to have some additional training since you come. And that's part of one of the programs we started. But what I used to do is I have the pediatric dentists, especially ones that I know can rock and roll. I tell, one of you guys, you just started, I said, listen, I want you to go and shadow Dr. Burt for the day. I already talked to him. He said it's cool, blah, blah, blah. And I've had people say, listen, I worked on the UCLA bus. I'm not going to over it. I mean, how is it? I'm trying to give you a job. I'm trying to show you how to really get it. And because they're too high and mighty, they can't come down. Or I hire somebody and I said, well, in HP, Dr. Jacobs. She's been with me 17 years. Go and shadow Dr. Jacobs. She's one of my most productive doctors. I send them over there. They're over there 2 days. I said, Doc, how's it working out with this doctor? She said, what do you mean? I said, when they're asking you questions, they're shadowing you, they haven't been in my operatory, never. I was like, what? I'm telling you, some people, and the only thing I'm saying, guys, be willing to bow down, because when I went to LA, I had been doing pediatric dentistry and just dentistry in general for about 8 years before I started working with Don Brown. But he had 3 other pediatric dentists and himself and another GP working there, and each person kind of in a line. Every time I had a break, I'm in one of those operatories, and I was like, Doc, can I watch? And that way you learn something. I'm telling you, you don't really, and I'm not trying to throw off on Meharry, any dental school, anywhere, but you're only going to really get it when you get it. You're going to get out there, and you're going to do some dentistry. And then the more you do, and then you hit your comfort level, and you start to roll, and now you're productive. But you won't get there unless you're willing to learn some more, because I've seen, and that's why they still have a lot of stuff out there, buzzard stuff, because people aren't willing to try. They still use that term, like Tyson invented it, I think. But they have a lot of people that won't bow down. I'm telling you, got to be willing to do those kinds of things. If you're going to, because it's true, you can't be a good leader if you're not willing to be a follower. I don't mind following. I still, to today, I don't mind getting in the back seat. And then I get people that come out sometimes and they want to, everybody wants to drive, and you cannot come out and then go into your own office or anybody else's office and say you want to get in the driver's seat, because you don't know anything, seriously, especially when it comes to business. If you don't know, what a profit and loss statement, if you don't know, there's a lot of things that you don't know. And let me just keep moving. Let me keep moving, because I'll start running off to the side. Consolidate before it's too late. And then I have a new DPO. DPOs are a little bit different than DSOs. You guys, and I'm still not bragging, but do you know, and unless there's somebody could tell me different, that I'm still the only black owner of a DSO ever in America? And I just started a DPO. I'm probably the only black to start a DPO. And the reason I think is, one, it costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money, and you got to believe that you can make this thing happen. And even back in the day when I first joined the ADSO, it was like $8,000 just to join. And when I showed up there, I'm the only black in there. And there's a room full just like this, and I'm the only black guy in there. So I was nervous as hell. I really did, because I went to HBCU. I went to, when I was in high school, we only integrated for 4 years. And then I went to HBCU, then I went to Meharry, and then I went down to the projects, and then I went to East LA. So I'm not really in a room like that. And it's like, I looked around, and there was a brother that came, an African brother, to serve some water, and we touched, And that was beautiful. I was like, but then when I come outside, there was a sister that was working with them, and I started to her. I was going to say something. She did. I was like, dang, So, you're out there, and the only reason I was doing it, though, is because I already had made up my mind. I got to go fast. I want to do this thing. I want to have some offices, and I had to catch up. I had already missed a year, 2 years, because it took me about a year and a half taking the board. I had taken a year off to go to music school. I'm behind. I was gonna file for bankruptcy. I even gave the guy the deposit check. But then he waited too long and my rent was due and I didn't have any money. I said, cancel, That was the only reason my bankruptcy didn't go through. But then I started to get some traction. I got in the office and I learned a lot of stuff. I was taking all kind of courses and classes and so forth, how to run an office. I had bad luck with my accountant. I had bad luck with the lease. So now but you learn from all these experiences. Sometimes, and that's why I'm trying to share with you guys some of the things so that you don't have to go through all of those experiences that I went through to learn some of these, valuable lessons. I mean, really valuable lessons. So, but what I'm telling you about the DSOs you need to look at. And what does it say? It's not the strong. Oh, that's that Darwin thing. It's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the most responsive to change, or the most, you got to adapt. You'll see, unless you adapt quickly to the change, you're going to have some problems. So this is from Peter Drucker, and I studied his book. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you got to read everything, go to all of these lectures. Some of them, a lot of them have nothing to do with dentistry, but they have something to do with up here. You got to, it's because it's about self-development. There's no way you're going to become a multimillionaire until you become it up here. It's not going to money will not run and attack you. You got to have a plan to bring it into you, right? So don't think that it's going to come up and rape you. Yeah, and he says, an entrepreneur, seriously, an entrepreneur always searches for change, responds to it, exploits it as an opportunity. So there's always opportunity because change is the only constant. We got a lot of change going on right now. We're in this, what do you call it, with the budget that hasn't been approved and so forth. There's things, shutdown, right. And now we have this thing where it's with healthcare, they're cutting a lot of the budget, but you gotta be calm. You gotta see further than that. Don't panic, The thing is you wanna see ahead of you. All of these things, you've been around long as I have, you've seen a lot of things go up, come down, go up, come down, but you got to feel like I can handle that. So this thing with the DSO is a dental support organization. And then the DPOs is a dental partnership organization. So what are they? The DSO is a way for non-dentist investors to own dental practices. Now, a non-dentist in most states cannot own a practice. You have to be a dentist and have a license in that state to own the practice. So what they do, you will set up an escort. If you want to have the practice, they'll have an escort, dentist own the escort. But you can own the escort or have it in your name, and they can have you out this evening and tomorrow morning have another dentist in there. So that's the way it's set up. The people who invest all of those millions of dollars, they're not going to let you hold them hostage. So you're always, and here's a big thing that I talk about, guys. We are expendable. And the sooner you start to get that in your head, you are an expendable commodity. It's hard, that's a hard thing to say, but if something happened to you today and you're working for me, I'd be a fool to not have some way of replacing you. We'd probably shut down a day and go to your funeral, but tomorrow we got to be rolling again. It's just like that, and that's life. Anything happen, if you don't have some kind of contingency plan, you're a fool. You're not doing it right. So if you're doing business, you got to have some kind of contingency plan. So this guy, Michael Gerber, wrote this book, The E-Myth. You guys may have heard of that. But his thing is talk about systems and processes. Systems and processes, that's where the value is. The value isn't necessarily in you. You got to build some systems or have some systems and some processes, and you build a platform. So you're working towards self-obsolescence. You're getting rid of self. I know it sounds kind of weird, but you have to be able to think, get rid of self. So most business people are technicians. They think they're entrepreneurs, but really what happens, you wind up, just because you're a dentist, you think you should own a dental office. Or just because you're a good cook, you should own a restaurant. Not always so. Maybe you should stick to cooking, or if you're a dentist, stick to dentistry, unless you're going to learn some business, because it is a dental business. Most people don't want to get into the business thing, but if it took you this long to learn dentistry, don't you think you would put in a little bit of time? But most people have no idea. They sign the lease, they don't know. I had a lady I was talking to the other day. She said she works 6 or 7 days a week, but she only does dentistry 3 days. And then she goes into her office 4 days. She does admin, she does her post-op, she does callbacks, she does this, that. I said, Doc, you're not a real dentist then. You're really just you're in madness mode. You're in madness mode because there's no kind of control, no structure. You don't want to be doing that. You want to be doing stuff whereas you're using your time. If you cut crown preps, your time is better spent cutting crown preps. Your time is not spent telling the dental assistant where to go, the floor supervisor how to run the floor, the manager what to do. And that's why when you go to work for these places, they don't want you coming up telling people what to do. A lot of times dentists come out and they think, well, let me show you how to run this and so forth. You don't need that, because these people, most of the time, especially if it's a DSO, that's the big money. These are rich people putting their money out there. They're not going to trust it to just anybody. You have managers executing their plan. So they start out with a plan. You just happen to fit in there as a piece. And let me see what I have on that. Let me see. I want to show you some. Profits are better than wages. I want you to remember that one. Profits are. They're better than wages. Wages make your living. Profits make your fortune. That, guys, it's hard for a lot of people to understand, but
Question.
yes, sir.
Could you go back to that slide?
Yes.
Because that's very relevant.
It is.
Very relevant.
The thing about profits, the difference of profits and wages is like your W-2, and they're going to take out a lot of taxes, and when something happened, you can't sell your job. Nobody wants to buy your job. And the person that you're working for, they can just replace you anyway. But if you have assets, now you own something, you can sell that. If you own the dental office, one of the things that Dr. Meharry was just talking about is collaboration of all of these different things. What if you own that real estate, whereas the OBGYN, the dental practice, the orthodontist, all of them were in your building. They're paying you rent. Matter of fact, you could own all the practices and you pay yourself rent. You're making money on the practice, and now you're making money on the real estate. Turn around, and then the money that is already, when you built it, I'm going to share this one with you guys, seriously. Sometimes I have to jump up and kiss myself, and there's nobody else around to tell me, because my wife, if I tell her, she's like, but did you take out the trash? And I'm like, damn, she didn't really appreciate. But I'm telling you, like, one of the things I have some offices now, you could do a real estate line of credit against the building. So if you get a building and you go in and you renovate and you turn it into a dental office, put all of that stuff in there, now the value goes up. You go back and get it reappraised, pull your money back out in a line of credit, and because if you sold something, now you have what is called capital gains. You don't want to necessarily get capital gains, so you can do a line of credit against that, right? And then you can use that to do it over and over again. So it's basically flipping money, but I don't invest in anything except for dental offices and dentistry, because I tried a whole bunch of other things. I do have some securities and stocks and bonds, but I let my wealth management advisor take care of that. Because I tried that myself. I lost $3 million. Swear to God. In the stock market. And my wife is like, I told you. So I turned it over to this guy, and now I'm back whole, though. He did bring me back, and it helped save me. But if you don't know what you're doing, don't, because, you watch a lot of those CNBC and all of those, and they're telling you about investing. Don't go for it. Stay in your lane, doc. Stay in your lane. There's a whole bunch of money to be made in dentistry. Don't go running around jumping in some, and I used to watch all of these late night TVs about how to make money doing this and selling that. I was selling nutrition products and all kind of things. Stay in your lane, doc. Stay in your lane. You can make a lot of money in dentistry, but focus. Stay focused, and then you can get there. So profits are better than wages. Now, how do you get profits? Assets. Assets. Got to accumulate assets. So I come up with this thing, the AARP. When you turn 50, you're going to get close to 50, they're going to find you. The AARP, they probably find me for using their name, but it's, no, I use it for accumulating assets, retirement planning. You got to start early. If you start with some assets early, then when it comes time when the true AARP find you, you're like, I'm good. I'm already good because I got a lot of assets and money that are sitting there. And let me just keep moving. So get out of the rat race. Here's the thing. Most of you guys have heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah, okay. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I'm not going to give you a lot of assignments, but you got to get this book. It's called The Cash Flow Quadrant. Get the book. I swear, you'll do yourself a favor. It's worth $100,000. I just shared with you something worth $100,000. This is called the cash flow quadrant. And then there's a game called the cash flow game. And cash flow is an accounting terminology. Normally, if something is cash flowing, it means that it's a positive cash flow. But cash flow can go either way. You could be losing. But if something is really cash flowing, we refer to it as something that's positive. Now you're getting profits. Because the only thing you have is revenues and expenses. After that, it's profit. Now, there's a terminology called EBITDA, earnings. Now, earnings is the same thing as profits. And when they say EBITDA, it's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. Long thing, but it just means kind of like it hasn't been stepped on. It's just clean. And that's your profits. You want to know, and the reason profits, think about this. If you, let me go to this next one. I think it'll help you. And this is Warren Buffett. He said, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die. So on the left side is you have a job. You're an employee. And then below that, you're self-employed. So on the left side, you're working for somebody else, and then you're working for yourself. And he said that's even worse than working for somebody else if you don't have a system. But on the other side, on the right side, the business owner, people work for you. Other people's time, other people's money, because they'll loan you money. Do you know that dentistry ranks number 3 as the best borrower for banks and lending institution of all professions? There's only 2 that are above dentistry. The first one is funeral homes. You know why? Everybody got to go there. And the second one is veterinarians. I'm not a pet person, but damn, you people who own pets, they will spend some money on those pets. So those are the only 2 ahead of dentistry. Now, if dentistry is so high and they're willing to loan you money, why is it that most people will not take it? Because they're afraid. You don't know what to do with that money. And you're like, I'm already $400,000 in debt, and you're talking about getting another $600,000-$800,000? No way. But what if you knew what you were doing? You could leverage that, and then you leverage that, and then in the next thing you know, you're up there, you're rolling with $4 million. That $400,000 has become minuscule. You're already at $4 million. Most of you are not going to get there. But the few of you that see it will. But the thing is, you're going to have to run for it. It's not going to just come and attack you. You got to have a plan if you want to get there. Now, the good thing is, most people that graduate want a job. Nobody really, I know most people don't want to get in the deep end. You're right. You don't jump off in the deep end unless you know what you're doing. And the reason that most the buyers, when people buy your office, especially your single office, you're what they call a boutique practice, right? So the reason it's hard to really get a lot of money on that is that, thank you, is first, you could get hit by that bus. And that's the thing a lot, nobody really thinks about, but you could. I think about it when you're working for me because you could all of a sudden just call in, Doc, my wife decides she's going back to Philadelphia, and we're in California. Now I got to get, well, when are you leaving, Doc? Oh, next week. Oh, I got to have, so I'm constantly looking for new doctors, new people I can help. I want to help other people have what they want. If you want a job, I want to be the greatest employer you ever met. I don't want to be that guy, those guys that I work for. So, but for you, I want you to acquire assets. Get out of the rat race. You can work a job, but you could still start to acquire assets. Because assets are the only way you're going to get out of the rat race. And the rat race is when you're working for, you're trading time for money, and you never get out of it every time. And this is the thing with doctors. As your salary goes up, your expenses go up. You want, first you had the BMW, now you want the Maserati. You had the house over here, now you want the house on the hill. Now your bills go up. You're making more money, but this is going up. But you got to get some, you have to have some assets. And when the assets are taking care of all of those bills, then you're out of the rat race. So the things that you can own to get out of the rat race is like intellectual property, real estate, business assets like a dental office, securities, stocks, bonds, those kinds of things, licensing agreements. All of those are profits. And you get what is called capital gains rather than earned income. And yes, sir.
Over paying the loans back or doing both simultaneously?
I think that, and here's the thing, and I'm trying to spread this. I had it out there. I have 4 locations that we got approved for NHSC student loan repayment program. Government pays back your loans, you just have to work. And we've been trying to throw that out there. I don't think we have people, we hire people, nobody has taken it up. But if it were me coming out, having that debt, I'd say, give me that student loan repayment program. Because when I did it, I went to a clinic, I could only work, and I was getting it was about $2,800 a month on the public. That was many, many years ago, guys, many. But I wasn't supposed to work anywhere else, even though I did moonlight a little bit, don't tell anybody. But I would take something like that, let them pay the money. I'm working, I'm learning, I'm earning at the same time. But you know, the problem I get is most people, do you have anything near my mom's house? And I'm thinking, Doc, you just have a chance to get your loan, $150,000 paid back and work and earn money at the same time, plus you could be learning, and now you're asking me, do I have anything near your mom's house? Come on. If that's the only thing you could take, go back to your mom's house. I'm not trying to be hard, guys, but sometimes, like that song used to say, you're a big girl now, no more daddy's little girl. You have to, once you get out of here, you're on your own. All of this time, everybody has planned your day, your life, what you're going to do, what time you get up, everything. Now it's on you. You have to make your own decisions, and you have to come up with a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're out in the water. It's like a ship without an oar. It's just out there. But let me keep moving, guys. I got to keep moving. Okay, what do I have? I can't even read this. Okay, but this is about your passive income. When your passive income exceeds your expenses, you're on the fast track. That's why I say the game. Get the book. Get the game, play the game with somebody at your level, or if you got friends or family that's an accountant or a real business person, play it with them. The average person is not going to be able to play it. Got to be somebody on your level, and they understand. But the game will teach you a lot. But the book first, read the book. I'm telling you, you need to understand how profits and businesses work, and why you need systems. The systems will allow you to step back. And then you could take a month off and the business just keep right on rolling and money just keep coming. And then if you have and every dental office is in some kind of real estate. If you own that, now you got money coming in. You can own other real estate or whatever. But at some point, if you step away, you want your money to keep rolling. You don't want your money to stop every time you stop. You get up to go to the bathroom and your money stops. That's not a good plan. It's not. You want to, and like with me, I swear, I haven't done dentistry in 15 years, and I make more money than almost 90% of dentists in the country, I swear, and I don't even know what days they're open. I don't have to. I hired a CEO, I have an operations manager, I have regional managers, I have the whole thing, so I'm just doing the business of dentistry, but I do, when they call me, it's normally for some higher up stuff. How do we grow to that next level? And then I'm trying to push everybody. Just keep going, because there's so much that that we can do. Let me just read a couple of these. Okay, I did say if your money stops every time you stop. So this passive income, you can also refer to that as performing assets. That's another term. They call it, it's performing because now it's taking care of what it's set up to be. But sometimes if you leverage and borrow the money, you got to make sure it works. So you got to have, your plan needs to be a viable plan, and it needs to be a well-vetted plan. And when it's vetted, don't just go to your cousin or somebody, hanging out and money low. Money low and say, no, I like this. No, you got to go straight to somebody who's doing business. And that's why mentoring, I don't find, one of the reasons I stopped doing a lot of videos, I didn't think a lot of people really pay attention, because most people don't appreciate. And I just think sometimes we're stuck, and we have what is called self-limiting beliefs. If you believe that that's where you're going to be and that's where you're supposed to be, then that's where you're going to wind up. But if you believe that this is where you're going to be and that's where you're supposed to be, you're not going to stop until you get there. So you got to sometimes put your self-limiting beliefs behind it. And the one thing that, well, I got to keep moving. I'll get to it. But your license is a license to print money, so protect it with all you can. And then I already told you about no equity in that first name. Don't let people, and Dr. Foote, my Jamaican friend, he was the first one, he said, Jerry, never let them call you. And then vendors will come in and they want to do that. I even had a guy, I was going to hire him as my CEO. He was a Harvard guy, Harvard MBA. So I had his resume, and we were doing the interview. He kept calling me Jerry, and I said, Mr. whatever his name. I said, now, if you hire, you're going to have to call me Dr. Lanier. He said, well, I didn't ask you to call me doctor. I said, oh, are you a doctor? Well, no, but why? I said, well, you know what? We won't be talking. Bye. Because if they do that, and then I hate when people come up, and even doctors, just call me Shirley. I'm not going to call you Shirley. You know why? Because we're working together. I don't want to know you like that. I want to know, I really don't, Shirley. I want to know you as doctor. I want to know what we're going to do as far as business, because I'm a businessman, they say. I'm a straight up businessman, and I don't need to know her on that personal basis. So keep that in mind whenever you're dealing with people. And then use your license. That's what got you into this $400,000 debt. Use it to get you out. And don't think that you're going to just save some pennies on the side. There was this, Jeff, what was Dr. Monette. Yeah, Monette. That was his name, Monette, the white guy that was here. Yeah, Winnett. But he had this thing he'd tell every class, you can't save your way into being rich. You know, every instructor got something they say. He used to say that to every class. You will not save your way into being rich. You got to make money, and sometimes you got to spend money to make money, but you're going to have to do something different than what everybody else is doing. If you're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, you should expect what? Same results. Don't think it's going to just change just because it's you. You got to do something different, and that's where most people get in trouble, because we like to follow the crowd, whatever the crowd is doing. And even like when I was down in New Orleans, one of my friends, he said, Jerry, you're going to be, he was a dentist, so he called me Jerry. But anyway, you're going to take this HMO, because the New Orleans Teachers Union has started some HMO plan. And I was like, I don't think so. But then after a while, everybody started like, Jerry, you need to take it. You need to take this plan. I said, why? Because they got all the patients. And I accepted it. And then the next thing you know, my office is full of all of these capitation plan people. I only get paid a couple of dollars a month on each one of them, but now they're displacing my paying patients. Even the Medicaid pays more than this capitation plan. So I'm thinking, why did I follow these fools? Because one, it didn't make sense. If you look at it from a business perspective, it would just make more sense for me to spend the money in marketing, advertising, get the patients into my office, and now I don't have to take all of their patients. Yeah, that's why you got to have a marketing arm. And I'll go, oh, I got to keep moving. I'm serious, guys, because I got a lot of slides. I'm going to just keep moving. But these are things I want you to remember. Arbitrage. Okay, so I'm at one of these conventions and with the DSO people, and I was getting ready to sell my business. And I did. I walked away with a lot of money. But this Russian couple, when we were talking, and he said something that really caught me here. He said, Jerry, it's just arbitrage. And I was like, damn, you're right. Any of you guys know what arbitrage is? No. It's taking one asset in this market and selling it simultaneously in another market. So what they do as far as DSOs, they consolidate. So they buy your practice, your practice, your practice, your practice, combine EBITDA. You know, you have X number of, you have $1 million EBITDA over here. This practice they have 4. They combine all of that. When they get like $100 million of EBITDA combined, now they go to a market, and rather than getting 3 or 4 times EBITDA, the multiples they call it, multiple EBITDA. I'm way over you guys' head, I'm sorry. But just listen anyway, you'll understand. Multiples of EBITDA is how you value your practice. They buy them at 4 and they sell them at 10 or 12, even 14. So now, rather than getting 4 times EBITDA, they're getting 14 times EBITDA, because what? They consolidated. And that's where opportunity is. Opportunity is here. So I already told you what assets are. Autonomy. One of the things that everybody come out of dental school and they'll ask every time, am I going to have autonomy? And I'm thinking, hold on. Does that mean what I think it means, autonomy? You just walked out of school. I got millions of dollars of my money invested in this thing, and now you want to drive the boat. No. You don't know what you're doing. You don't have any money invested, and now you want autonomy. The reason that autonomy is thrown around so much in dentistry right now is because the DSOs, non-dentists, are owning everything, and they cannot tell a dentist how to practice. So the first thing in their contract is you have autonomy. That really doesn't mean that much, because they still got Meharry. And Meharry is still going to tell you what to do, but they have to say that. But think about this. If you had autonomy and you could do whatever you wanted to do, and you didn't know what you're doing, you're going to run it in the ditch. So don't ever think that you need autonomy. The first thing you want to do is learn. You want to learn, and if you're going to learn dentistry, don't try to learn everything. Limit your dentistry to certain things so that you don't have to learn the whole thing. But then learn some business if you're going to go in business. If not, work and then invest your money in the stock market. And if you're going to invest in the stock market, don't try to pick the stocks because you're not a stockbroker. You can either hire somebody or you could buy some, what do you call it? What's my word? I call it. Anyway, I'll get back to it. I'm having a senior moment, guys. I'm having a senior moment. You remember this, I think, dun, 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 dun. Get Smart. And it was a show that was back in the probably 60s. But anyway, on Get Smart, they had two sides. One was control, and the other side was chaos. And that's the thing, when you're trying to have autonomy, then it's going to be chaotic. And the thing that everybody, especially investors, if I'm rich and I'm getting ready to invest in dental offices, do I want something that's chaotic or do I want something that's controlled? And then it's controlled by a centralized office. They have, everything is centralized purchasing. We take advantage of economies of scale. We start and we can monitor the doctors to see the quality. We have someone looking out for compliance because there's all kinds of rules and regulations. And then there's somebody taking care of employees. Doc, did I answer your question?
Kind of.
Say it one more time because I just looked and I was like, damn, did I answer? Tell me again, no.
The question was, do you prioritize strictly paying off all of your loans?
Oh, no, you don't want to pay everything off. No. You want to just pay as little as you can because you're trying to grab some traction. And even the thing, and I try to convince my wife, even if you got money in your pocket, it doesn't even make sense to pay off your house, right? You know, because if you can make more money on it, or if you could pay it off and then take a line of credit out on it. Don't give everything back thinking you're going to save and get your way out of it. You need to be thinking and putting something aside like, okay, I'm going to leverage. No, let me stop. Because then if I put you in a hole, you're going to say, Dr. Lanier told me to do it. I don't want to tell anybody to do anything because it's dangerous. If you jump out there and you don't know what you're doing, you're in on the deep end. So, but don't pay it off all. If you could pay the smallest amount you can pay and get with one of those student loan repayments program. And now you're earning and you're learning, and the program is paying it off. So no, don't rush to pay them off because it's not going to make you where you're going to be. You're going to just be broke. You paid them all the money. They got your money. Now you're sitting around broke. Because what if something happens? You don't have anything. Don't give them all of that money. Because a lot of people, I don't like that thing. Pay off all your debts and pay everything off and you're going to be good. No, leverage it. Donald Trump, he said he loves debt. He borrowed, and people talk about when he bankrupts a company. It's a good thing if you set up right and the company is going bad. You have an LLC, you just bankrupt that one and move to another one. This is business, guys. But you got to understand that kind of thing. It's not, because when you bankrupt the company, it's not bankrupting you. It's bankrupting the LLC, which is separate than you. And you need those. I have probably 15, 20 LLCs because everything is separated into a different LLC. But here's one I want to show you guys. Anybody know this guy, Reginald Lewis? He wrote this book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? You ever heard of that? They don't have a lot of these books anymore. I have one, but they stopped printing them. But if you can find one, if you're a real entrepreneur, it's worth reading. It gave me a lot of insight. This brother, first black billionaire in America, Reginald Lewis, first black billionaire in America. And the thing is, it wasn't easy. He pushed hard. You got to read him. You got to understand these kind of people because if you're going to go, it's not going to be easy. You got to be motivated and you got to see it before you can believe it. You got to see it. Somebody else already did it. Somebody looked like you. They already been there. They already ran the race. So I want you to accumulate assets and then have that as a retirement plan. And then if you're an entrepreneur dentist, so this asset accumulation and the dental business is a good place to start if you have a plan. But like I say, don't go out there until you have a well-vetted plan and you know what you're going to do. And the same thing, real estate is great, especially dental real estate, if you have a plan. Or even, I don't do residential because I'm not going to unplug somebody's bathroom in the middle of the night. It's just not. And you ever heard of a triple net lease? A triple net lease, and they call it net, 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 is what you'll pay anytime you're a dentist. And that means that for the landlord, not only do you pay the rent, you pay the insurance, the taxes, and common area maintenance. That means you take care of all of my expenses. Once you're in there, you're taking care of me. You're paying me a profit, plus you're taking care of my property. It's appreciating every year, it's going up, plus my debt servicing, which you're taking care of, is going down. Now I have more money into the property because it's being paid down. Oh, guys, this stuff is beautiful. I'm telling you, I love it. You can work some magic if you really see this thing for what it is. You're making money. The person paying you down, your property is appreciating, and the money is going in. Then you turn around, take a line of credit on that, and then you do another one. You could dance. I'm telling you, but you got to be like lucrative Larry. You got to spend a lot of time thinking. And that's one of the things with me. One of the reasons I'm trying, and I hired a CEO, and I'm trying to back off because my mind is always on that. Yes, ma'am.
I got a question.
Sure.
Going back to the Donald Trump thing, because I know you didn't vote for him.
I can't tell you that one.
Anyway,
I'm not going to get shot down.
that asset thing, I'm sorry, that threw me off. When you say move it to another LLC, because I know you have to have a tax ID number with it, do you get a new tax ID number, or is it the same thing?
Yeah, now if you have, let's say she was asking about LLCs. One of the reasons I have so many LLCs is because I own quite a few properties. But every time I purchase a new property, I put it in a new LLC. Because if something happens, an accident or something, somebody sued me about one location, it doesn't affect the other one. Everything, so it has a new tax ID, everything is different because you want to have that one circumscribed. You don't want them to be able to come after you personally, and that's the reason they can sue the LLC and not touch you. But you got to have lawyers putting all of that stuff together in advance. Don't make any moves unless you know what you're doing, all right? Just, you got to know what you're doing when you jump out there. And then I want to give you this, your niche. Your niche will make you rich. Find your niche, or they say niche, I say niche. Find your niche can make you rich. I don't want to say it will, it can. But I did sell the 14 locations of Western Dental, and it allowed me to walk away rich, I think fairly rich for me. I walked away, guys, and I'm not bragging, I walked away with $30 million. That's pretty damn good, huh? And the only reason I did that is because I would not stop. I went all in, hog wild, and I was just opening offices everywhere. I was getting everybody going. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, I gone through a divorce, and I was single. And I didn't have anything. I didn't have any kids. I didn't have a wife. I could push. Most people don't have that luxury. You can't go all day, all night, and the weekend like I was doing. And when you get that many things going on, you have to build a lot of structure. I had a lot of good people around me. I still have a lot of people. You won't get there by yourself. You got to build a team. You got to build a team, and then the team can take you over the finish line. So think about this, though. Magic Johnson over in Ladera Heights, he had the Starbucks and the TGIF. I think he sold both of those, but do you think he went out and started his own companies and all of that? No, these are franchises. All of the systems and processes are already in place. The only thing Magic has to do is put up the money and maybe stop by there every now and then and greet the people when they're in there, but he's not, so he's invested. But here's the thing that most people want to do. I want to start it for myself, but the things that I did, I'm telling you, and you see I started way back there even before I started Meharry on the entrepreneur path. I don't think most people are willing to pay the price to get there, so why not find a way to own something without having to be in business by yourself? You want to be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. I can tell you that. And reason being, if you're not, You got to tell yourself, I'm an entrepreneur. If you want to be an entrepreneur, the reason I had that on my office, it used to be Pediatric Management Services, Inc., but then once I sold the company, I had to take that down. So I didn't have any offices because I had a 3-year non-compete. So I just put an entrepreneur dentist. I was like, that's who I am. And I'm writing a book. So listen, name it, claim it. If you want to do something, you damn well better claim it. And because listen, you find some kids, and then you stop by the house, and he's, one of the sons is bouncing a ball. You're like, he plays a little ball? And they say, no, he's a baller. And the kid walks up and says, yeah, I'm a baller. You would best believe he probably spends a lot of time on the court, probably can really ball, but he knows he's a baller. It's not like somebody else has to tell him, and you have to tell yourself. Either I'm a really, and you could be both. You could be a really good clinician and a really good business person. But either way, you're going to have to establish that in your mind first. It's not going to just happen by happenstance. You have to make it happen. So first, you got to be that person. Be, do, have in that order. If you are an entrepreneur, then you're going to do what entrepreneurs do, right? That's who you are. And then you're going to have what entrepreneurs have. And the thing, you guys are young, but everybody knows Bob Marley. Bob Marley's song, Misty Morning, he says, there is one mystery just can't express. Why would you ever give your more to receive your less? You're giving a lot. You're giving your more. And now if you don't go out there and make something of it, then it relates to that. Why would you ever give you more and receive your less? He said, one of my good friends said in a reggae rhythm, don't jump in the water if you can't swim. And that's the thing I keep telling you guys. Don't jump in the water if you can't swim. Take some swimming lessons. Learn to, because once you get in over your head, you gotta swim. You guys have heard of holding companies. You have a holding company, and then the holding company could have like ownership. And the ownership could be like dentists, non-dentists, and then they own part of this, the dentist partners, the tracking company. Then you have a tracking company which you would own if you were like a franchisee. You're a franchisee, you own part of this tracking unit. And then it has revenues, expenses, net profits, and then you pay you get profits. That's how you get there. I know I didn't explain that one well. Let me figure out how I'm going to explain that one better. I'll keep going because my clock is ticking. But anyway, what I want you guys to see is this. This is the DSO industry. Look at it. It says by 2033, you see how those revenues are growing? Because we're at 2025 at 36 billion. But by 2033, 123 billion. You see how much growth? You see how much growth is expected in this short period of time? So you got to, here's the thing, guys. I want you to do this. Remember this about anything in life. The trend is your friend. Don't fight the trend. If it's going a certain way, now this is the stock market. You look back over there, you see 1929, and that's when they had, stock market crashed. But after that, look at what if you just bet on the stock market, the S&P or the Dow or the NASDAQ, over all of this period of time, you just put money there and let it sit, you still would be way, way ahead because the trend is just, even though it's up and down, it still keeps going up. Same thing with this thing with the DSOs. You know they're growing. You know that it's going to take over some point. When I was a kid, there was all these mom and pop pharmacies. You go in there and you get your, what do you call it with the soda and the ice cream? No, they had those things. A float, yeah. You could go in there and get a float and all of that. Now you can't find one. Matter of fact, now they're closing the big pharmacies. Walgreens and all of those are closing down. Why? Because things change. And you have to be able to adapt and see where it's going. And that's the thing. You got to know where it's going, guys. You can't not stay with where it's at and say, well, I'm fine. You got to see where it's going. Because if you look around, companies are gone. Blockbusters, Kodak, BlackBerry, Bed Bath & Beyond, Party City, Sears, Toys R Us, all gone. All gone. Why? They couldn't keep up. Life changes. You got to be able to adapt and keep moving. So skate to where the puck is going. You know, Wayne Gretzky, he said his dad taught him that. He became, they have a statue of him right in front of the Staples Center. The great one. The great one. They wouldn't call him that unless he was worthy of a name like that. But he said the thing that he was taught, skate to where the puck is going, not where it's at. Because then by the time you get there, it's already gone. So look ahead of yourself, see where it's going, see where the industry is going, and put your money on. Then you really are going to have a bad life. I'm telling you, get too serious about it. But if you can make it fun, it can be lucrative. Matter of fact, I'm going to mention this one. There was my buddy used to live down on Jefferson Street. I forget the name of the apartments going towards TSU. And there was this brother that used to pass going from down that way. And anyway, his name was Larry, but they called him Lucrative Larry. Because every time you mention something, how's it going, Larry? He said it's lucrative. And that's the way you want life to be. You want it to be lucrative. So anyway, I started out, I came here to Nashville before I started Meharry. I missed my graduation from North Carolina Central because I decided to join this. It was an internship program that was right here. It's called the Southwest Book Company, and you had to come here in Nashville to train for a week before you go and sell books door to door. I had already been accepted at Meharry, so I was like, I need to graduate first, but then they said, well, you can't do both. So I missed my graduation. My mom was hurt. I didn't know she was going to be hurt like that, but she was hurt. But I came here and I trained in an entrepreneur program. And then they sent us selling books, and Dr. Mayberry just said, she was from Detroit. I went to Detroit. I didn't know I was going to Detroit until you get here, you spend a week training, and then they tell you where you're going to go. And then you catch a ride with somebody, and then they give you a list of people that you can call. Maybe you can stay there. And then you hustle when you sell books door to door. But it's the training that you get before you go, and then in your mindset, you're an entrepreneur, right? So when I reached Meharry, I already have the mindset, because even before that, I used to sell clothes at the mall and wait tables and so forth. So I was always that commission kind of guy. Give me a little bit, let me make a commission on it, I'll do it for you. So the mindset of an entrepreneur, and so when I came to Meharry, or even dental school, I think I probably came with a different mindset than most people, because the only reason I chose dentistry is because this guy in Durham had a dental office on the hill and had this green Jaguar, XJ12. I was like, dang, I want one of those. I want to be a dentist then, because not only did he have the Jag, but think about it, he had his own business. And that was what I wanted. I didn't want to necessarily work for anybody. I wanted to own my own business. So that Jaguar sitting on the hill, he owned his own place. I was like, that's me. That's me. That's what I'm going to do. So some of you guys might want to look into this. And they're telling me that now some students, I don't know, some are leaving dental school with $400,000 in debt. You know, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And some schools are a lot more. So you got to think about it. And I know a lot of people panic when it comes down to this thing of money and debt and so forth. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? You need to have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, then you're going to be working somebody else's plan, right? You got to have, somehow you got to figure out how you're going to pay back $400,000. But if you think right, $400,000 is only 10% of $4 million, right? So you just, if you make $4 million, that's nothing. You got to think like that, though. You really do. You got to think that's nothing. But here's the thing, the mindset. So if you look, you'll see, this is from the yearbook, but at the bottom down there it says, what, you know, the career goals, mine was general dentistry and entrepreneurship from get-go. Even before I got here, I wanted to do entrepreneurship. But the only reason, I'm not bragging on me, I'm just telling you that if you're going to do something, and really, especially if you plan to make money and get wealthy, it's not going to be by accident. You won't accidentally fall into a whole hell of a lot of money. And looking at me, you can tell a country boy like me, looking 3 shades darker than the average, I'm not going to just run into money and it's just going to jump on me. I got to have a plan. I got to take it down with a plan. And if you're going to do it, you got to have a plan. There's a lot of money in the industry, but you're not going to get it unless you have a plan. So first, you got whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve, that's Napoleon Hill. That's something you need to really think about. If you can conceive it, but if you don't conceive it, you can't really, just like I could say rabbit, orange, this, that, and the other, or Garoparos forte. You really wouldn't know what a Garoparos forte is, and you can't really conceive it in your mind. You can't really conceive making money and getting a whole bunch of money unless you can first see it and visualize it in your mind that you can do it. Otherwise, you're going to just do what somebody has already planned for you to do, and that is get a job. And it's okay. I need people working for me. So if you want to get a job, you know, but the thing I'm speaking to today is not necessarily, everybody's not going to do this. I tell you, out of everybody here, a small percentage will probably become entrepreneurs, highly successful entrepreneurs. Most people will be employees, and there's nothing wrong with that. Here's what I want to warn people though. Things are changing. And you know that, the DSOs, the DPOs, so forth. But let me not get ahead of my slides. Let me just see if I can stick to my slides. Okay, so I was public health. Came here on a public health scholarship. And when I left, I went down to New Orleans. Anybody from New Orleans? Yeah. All right. Who that over there? You know. So I was down in the St. Thomas housing projects. And they tore all of that down there after Katrina, but it was rough. Because the clinic I worked at was right in front of it. They call it Puppy Lane. And they sold puppies. You ever heard of puppies? That's the clickums where they soak it in the PCP. And that was right in front of my office. So, I was in a kind of rough area. And then I finally got an office in the ninth ward, which wasn't too great. But before that, I had a little office in Hammond, Louisiana. So I started moonlighting. And they had a black dentist. He was the one that got me into the office. But it was an old white dentist's office. And he talked the brother into it. And it didn't work out for him. He switched it over to me. So I get in there and I realized even the black people weren't used to a black dentist. There are places still where you go and black people just not used to a black dentist. So, and then there was a Klan rally right in front of my office. Seriously, they marched right in front of the office. And I was telling the owner, I said, I need to get out of there. And he was like, Doc, you already signed. Don't sign anything, guys. Don't sign anything. Let me say this again. Don't sign anything that commits you until you have a lawyer check it out. And not only just a lawyer, if it's something that has to do with real estate, you have a real estate lawyer, not your cousin. He got a little criminal law background or something. That is not it. If you're dealing with employees, it's an employment lawyer. If you're dealing with real estate, it's a real estate lawyer. If it's dealing with structure, it's a person who's used to dealing and putting together structure for business. These guys are specialized, very. And if you're dealing with accountants, make sure that they're certified. You don't want to just go down any lane. And you got to spend some money to make money. But the worst thing to do is get yourself in trouble and sign something that commits you to long term. I was just talking to a lady just the other day, and she was saying she signed, and I can't just talk about her, the building I was just talking about. My first one, I did the same thing. This one. over here on the I signed a lease to that place, and I didn't know. That was the first time I really leased anything. It was a 2.5-year lease. Then I put all of my money into it, and then the guy said, well, I'm going to double the rent. And I was like, I just signed, and he said, well, if you want to buy the building, you can buy it. So I had somebody look at the building. They said, the building is no good, Doc. Don't put your money into it. So now that was one of the reasons I got up and left New Orleans. I said, well, the economy was already bad, and then I'm caught up into this thing. My accountant, I didn't use a CPA. I had this brother who was going to help save me money. Next thing I know, the IRS has sent me a thing, and I owed them like a whole bunch of money. And this fool had walked away, and he wasn't even certified. So I'm telling you, I learned a whole bunch of things out here, guys, but I was going fast. I was going real fast because, I'll tell you the reason I had to go fast, because it took me a little while to pass that board out there. So I took the California board back then, and I had license in New Orleans. I had passed the Northeast Regional, but then I went down to, I left New Orleans and went to California. And I'm sorry, I'm just going this route, but I'm going to get into something. I know you guys are like, where's he going with this? But anyway, so while I was in New Orleans, this thing, we were one night at Mardi Gras, we were hanging out, and this hotel, what is it called there? The Roosevelt, that's it, right there on Canal Street, the Roosevelt. So we were going out in the elevators, and they had this thing where you go up there. It's a Roosevelt nice hotel, and you go up on a certain floor, you have escargot and, throwing them back and doing that. But these guys are on the elevator, and I could tell they weren't from Louisiana, they were somewhere, and they high-five each other and say, making money as we speak. And this is like 3 in the morning. And I'm like, man, what could they do? Making money as we speak, doing Mardi Gras, they're somewhere, they're not even from here, and they're making money. I know, guys, I'm talking money because I know that most of the time you guys aren't really getting business. So I'm going to just talk business, and if it goes over your head, don't worry. You're going to get this. But you need to at least see where I'm going and see why it's pertinent to you. So then I left New Orleans. I was already part of a Bible class down here, and I decided we had a Bible class in L.A. I'm going to L.A. So we get there, and when I say about the board, I didn't take the board the first year. I took a year off and went to Musicians Institute. Wanted to learn to play music. I didn't really realize, unless you started when you were a kid, you gotta leave that stuff alone. It was more, I thought maybe intellectually, and I could intellectually process it, but I couldn't get it, either you got it or you don't. So, but I was never trying to become a professional musician. I just wanted to learn something. That didn't work out. But a dental board, I took that sucker so many times after that, and every time I get like 1 point away or something, I swear to God, now don't laugh at me, but I did take it 5 times. I took it so many times when I was going back to Loma Linda, this Filipino girl, she was dental assistant. You know how on the board they have professional assistants that only do the board. They make a lot of money. So somehow I met her, and she's way across the lobby. Don't worry, Dr. Lanier, you'll pass this time. That was kind of rough. I was like, okay. So the thing is, you go through those kinds of things. The dental board was a rough spot for me. I wound up having, I was borrowing money because I figured right after I graduated, I finished that school, the music school, I was going to just take the board, boom, go back to work and do something. Plus, I had thought, I'm not going to own my own practice again. I'm going to try working as an associate. I never worked as an associate because in my first 4 years I was working, U.S. Public Health Service. And then, had my own little practice. And so I'm going to try working as an associate. That was the worst experience. Now, you guys got to work for somebody. But let me tell you, I'm the best employee I ever met. I am, because I work for some fools, I swear. Every time. I work for one guy, he would give you one pair of gloves in the morning and one pair of gloves after lunch. And I'm telling you, and then it was just, so he had two practices, and he was like, well, Dr. Lanier, I'm going to have you go to this other practice and work there, so I can go work and meet my manager, Myra. So I went there, and my first patient, you know, and I told you I took the board 5 times, right? First patient they give me is this elderly black guy, and they said she give me the chart, and I'm supposed to do crown prep. The tooth has about 3 millimeters of bone, and it's doing this. So I said, Maya, I can't do that. And she said, Doctor, do as you're told. And I was like, oh. So I said, Mario, can't do it because I took that board 5 times. And I'll tell you guys, people will come to you that want prescriptions. They'll want you to do this, do that. No, that license is the most important thing. That kind of brings me to the point why, and you'll see it in here, but I don't let people call me Jerry. You know what? Well, anybody call me Jerry, even kids. But if you're working with me and somebody calling me in this business, I don't want to hear no Jerry, because there's no equity in Jerry. Only thing I make money on is Dr. Lanier. So call me Dr. Lanier. But I want us to be personal. I don't need you like that. I don't need to know you like that. Really, we need to do business. And that's why I do it. So I got in trouble. I was trying to borrow money here and there. I got fired from the guy that I wouldn't do the prep. So the next day, the owner is here. He said, well, Dr. Lanier, I understand you will not do what Meyer tells you to do. And I tried explaining. He said, well, come 5 o'clock, you no longer need to come back. And I was like, damn, I just got fired. So you can't, when that happens, guys, you got to play it off. I said, Doc, I want to thank you for the opportunity. You know, you can't just, what am I going to do, cry? I thanked him for the opportunity, and I went to work. Then I went out to the State Bar and Dental, and it's almost the same thing. I'm telling you, the managers carry a whole bunch of weight. So at this point, there's a sister that drives up in the parking lot, same time I do when we return for lunch. She's driving a green BMW. And so happens when I get in there, she's my patient. And she's almost crying. She was saying she's a school teacher, and then they put this ugly composite on, and it's broken. So I had seen in the refrigerator, they had this 3M composite. I was like, I just taken a course on, you know, this aesthetic work and composites and all of that. So I said I could do it. And when they brought her to the chair, they brought this paste material. You guys do not know what that is. Dr. Tyson Johnson could tell you about that. They used to mix paste composite. I don't know, I don't even remember what the thing, but it was ugly. And it would not stick. It was just an ugly kind of thing that we had before they started doing these new resins. And I told her, I said, well, I can do this. Then the manager comes in, she said, no, she's HMO. You can't do that. I said, but she said that she'll pay for it. Doctor, do what you're told. So I couldn't work there too long. And then, you know, I'm telling you guys, because you're going to get out there. You're going to see some things. Just keep in mind some of these things that happened to me, it probably can happen to you. I worked at Peter Weiler's office. This guy had a big office in LA. And he and another guy did all the diagnosis. And the girl said, well, he likes you. And I don't know what that was supposed to mean, you know. But if he diagnosed something, whether you saw anything or not, and I remember I was telling her, I don't really see this. She said, Doc, do it. If you want to keep your job, just do it. So then you're prepping stuff that you don't even see, but you want to keep your job. So this, I'm telling you, things like this happen out here. You're going to see stuff. I did work with Scott Jacks. He passed. He was a pediatric dentist. Give me a few minutes, guys. I'm going to just run, and I apologize. I'm just trying to get through these slides, but I think I had 2 minutes and I talked about it. Let me just keep going. Okay, I'm going to keep going. All right.
James Brown, and I say, think about this though, the tracking units. So you could be a boss, but you want when you are the boss. James Brown said, "I paid the cost to be a boss." When you are the boss, you actually want make sure that you've already been through it. Okay, all right, good, all right. So I'm gonna keep going. Oh, James Brown, I got a joke for you. So this friend of mine, Kavanaugh, he was saying he went to this brother's house. And he took me there. He said, when you go in, look above the mantle there at that picture. He said, yeah. I walked in and I asked him, where you get a picture of James Brown? He said, that's not James Brown, that's my mom. These are my Meharry Park. We got Dr. Goodman here, and Dr. Tucker is also one of our partners. And I had a Delano video. I just want to say stuff like this: for-profit business. Every business that's not a nonprofit is for-profit. And if you're in business and you're not making profit, and let me give you another one real quick. Don't do this, guys. I've had doctors come to work for me, and then I get talking to them, and the doctor said, yeah, I own 2 practices. And I said, Doc, you have 2 practices while you're here? Oh, my practice is slow. I was like, damn, doctor, if your practice is slow, why did you open a second one? If the first one's not, and now you're working for me, why aren't you over at your practice? Sometimes, I'm telling you, it could be really smart clinically, but a lot of people, when it comes down to doing business, just really dumb. You cannot do something like that. Don't go and sign something and commit yourself to 2 different practices. You don't know how to make money at those, and now you're working for me to pay off your rent over there. You shouldn't do that kind of thing. Wait and ask somebody before you start doing stuff. Anyway, self-development. You want to have a self-development plan, take 2 years, work on your clinical skills, and then work more on self-development. Become a person that can accomplish big goals and learn some business and then how to take profit. And then I use these 3 athletes to just bring in Joe Montana. Stay in the pocket. You got to be able to stay in the pocket. I know these are old athletes. I don't watch a lot of sports now. This is before you guys were born. Joe Montana. But this was a quarterback that could stay in the pocket when everything is going around. Don't ever panic, guys, when you're the boss and you're doing the stuff, because everybody around you will panic. You got to stay calm and make the right kind of decisions because stuff will be coming at you. And you got to stay calm. And then also, Walter Payton, one of the things he used to say was, he's looking for daylight. That's the only thing, because a lot of times it's dark. But you got to find some daylight. When it happens, you got to take advantage of it. You got to move at that point. Find the daylight, and then I use Chris Paul because he's a small point guard. But the way he would say he gets his point is he takes what the defense gives him. That's the way I try to live. Because being who I am and what I'm trying to do, a lot of times there's a lot of defense. I'm looking for daylight. And I'm looking for whatever little opening you leave. So that's the kind of thing. 2 more minutes, okay. Anyway, when I told you about the thing when I was in Chicago, and so I'm in Chicago and DSO. I'm the only black guy here, and I walk up, and there's some of these guys who head up some of these big organizations, but I had met all of them before. But I walk up, and the first one, I try to shake his hand and say, hi, Dr. Hayden. He said, do I know you? And I said, yeah, I'm a black guy. And then all of a sudden, he's like, where do you go from there? But I wanted to say, I'm Rick James. I covered that over. But I did want to say I'm Rick James, guys. And I covered that up. I don't know what happened when they put that thing came back out. No, seriously. I'm going the wrong way, guys. So lastly, no, I got a few. So your business is a product. I'm going to go really fast. Be willing to pay the price. I'm telling you, In 2010, I spent $6,000 to go to Fiji for a week with Tony Robbins. I've been to almost every one of his things. I walked on the hot coals. I did everything because I wanted to win. And when you want to win, you're going to do almost anything. I spent all kind of money going to everything that you can because you got to have that burning desire. If you're going to make it, and look, listen, if I'm going to do one of those $100 million exits, I'm not going to sleep a lot. But my niece, who I hired, she was saying, you're going kind of fast. I said, well, I'm not going to hire you and pay you all that money unless we go really, really fast. I love going fast. And we fall and stumble, we get back up. But we go fast and we win. I've been winning all of this time. Why would I expect to lose? So you got to kind of get on that thing and just keep going, guys. But do get your game, learn that part, and then what do I want to say? There's a lot of stuff I didn't get. Oh, there they are. Dr. Tucker and Dr. Goodman, my Meharryans, my sister Ida in Atlanta, and her practice. She had a couple of practices there. I'm lining up my partners to get ready to make a big move, guys. Really make a big move. Only thing I'm asking you guys is to watch. I'm not asking for any of your money. I'm not asking you necessarily to come to work. I want you to watch. You want you to watch. I'm going to show you what I do. I'm just passing through. But after that, if you learn anything, I want you to benefit from it. Yes, sir.
You talk about like you have a wealth manager, how early is too early to get there?
Well, the thing, Doc, I'll tell you, the wealth management advisor, when you get several $100,000 in the bank, they're going to call you and they're going to assign you a wealth management advisor. There are certain things that are kind of ahead of you, but if you keep going, it'll open up. The thing is, and I use this analogy, guys, you don't have to get way out in front of yourself, but the first thing is just keep moving. Because if you're sitting out in the parking lot, the door at the supermarket is not going to open. You got to get really close before the automatic door opens, right? You got to walk up on it. So yeah, the wealth management advisor kind of comes after you have some wealth. They see you got a lot of money running through the bank, they're going to point that.
So to that point, like, what would be your ideal first step to get to that fast track quickly?
If you're going to put money into assets, if you're saving it, well, if you have student loans, pay minimal amount. If you have money that you're saving, put it into an index fund or something like that. Let it be earning money through that index fund while you are doing something else and learning. And then once you have enough in there, you can leverage that and you can go to the bank and you can get a property and or a tracking unit or whatever, and you can start at that point to build more assets. But you start with what you can. And matter of fact, when I got my Hollywood office, I had gotten behind, and like I said, I was trying to file for bankruptcy, and I didn't, but I couldn't get a loan because my credit was all messed up. I took some hard money loans. I was paying like 23%. Hard money loan. That's like mobster money. But I needed to make it work. And I knew, and when you are off into that, you take that kind of money, you're going to make it work. You're up before the sun comes up, you're on the weekend, you're over there, you're doing all kinds of stuff. So if you're going to make it work, you go ahead and get out there. But yeah, as far as advisors, but it was good because my wealth management advisor, when I got to the point that I was trying to sell, rather than going to a broker, I knew how brokers weren't going to know what to do. So I read that book, Reginald Lewis, and he talked about using investment bankers. So I called my wealth management advisor, and he was like, let me line you up. So he lined up all of the investment bankers, and then I got a chance to interview them, and then they hooked me up to the next process, and it took a lot of money because then they want $150,000 up front before they get started. And that's why I say a lot of people, it's going to scare them off, and I don't blame them. Because if you're going to give somebody $150,000 to get started, and then you got to have all of this other stuff done, I can see why most people would turn around. It was just like I said, I was single. I didn't have any kids. If I lost, I could just start over again. You know, most people. But if you're gonna do something, you gotta do it while you're young. If you're gonna risk a lot of stuff, and if you're gonna go hard while you're young. Because after you get older, and then you start having kids and so forth, you gotta slow it down. You know, I was, like I said, fortunately or unfortunately, I didn't have kids at the time, so I was able to run hard and put everything I had into it. If you don't do it early, you're not gonna do it. I'm just saying, it's not gonna happen like that. Go ahead, next question. I'm going to take some questions out. I'd love to see if there's anything else I want to cover. I did cover that one. Don't be, you know, that was a thing. One of my friends from New Orleans, he had like a napkin. I'm sweating like a kid over here. Sorry. But I have a friend from New Orleans, and he was like, and we go to the same Bible class. One day, he brought me up in the parking lot, and he said, let me give you my card. So on his card, it says, Joe Atman Services. I said, Joe Atman Services? What's that about?
He said, jack of all trades, master of none. I was like, well, that's not a good card. That's not, don't give anybody else that card. And that's why I say, don't try to do everything. And then you become a jack of all trades, master of none. Master something, you know, get good at it. Don't try to do everything for everybody. Limit, and that's why I say your niche can make you rich. Limit where you see and disregard everything else. You're like, no, I own this area. This is what I own. You're in my, because it's like an animal. You got to protect it. Go around and mark your territory and say, this is me. And this is my area. Anything, if you're doing pediatrics in a certain part of the city, you're like, this is my part of the city. And the only way you protect it, you're out there doing, when they have health fairs, you're out there at schools, you're doing the presentations, you got somebody giving out this, you're advertising, you're marketing, you got the cleanest office, you got the best staff, you're doing this because you're trying to compete. Because it's hard out there and people are going to come after you. You got to say, no, this is my territory, bro. You need to move on. You know what I mean? It's not an easy thing, but if you're going to compete, you're in business and you're in a for-profit business. You got to make profit. The only way to make profit is that you create more revenues than you have expense. So that's the way you're going to do that thing. Guys, what time is it? It's time. Okay. Anybody else with a question? Anybody with a question? Thank you, guys. Seriously, thank you.